from his studios in New York, it's time for Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Here's your host, Dan Tortora.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. I'm hanging out with this guy that they call Enrico Mastroianni. I call him Rico Suave, but that's just me. So we're here on the broadcast with Enrico Mastroianni, the head coach of the Marywood men's basketball team. They just, did something this season called making history, and then they would make history on top of history, and then they would go farther and do this. I mean, pretty much every time there was a milestone that was achieved, another one came came through the pipeline, so to speak. So with that being said, it has been a tremendous season. This is, Enrico Mastroianni, it's one of the guys that you root for. It's one of the people in this world that you root for, because when people do things the right way, and it's hard work and it's determination and it's effort, and we just talked about it off the air, when it's faith, belief without evidence, when it's that type of stuff, you can't help but root for that in life. And so with that being said, I proudly welcome him back to the show. Enrico Mastroianni, how are we doing today?
Doing great, Dan. How are you?
Doing very well. So, first and foremost with you, Kerry Brown, she just got on the show for the first time. She gave you a little bit of credit because you were on the committee that helped bring her in. What did you like about Kerry Brown?
It was easy right away, her energy. I mean, it was powerful, it was impactful, it was immediate. I remember as soon as her interview ended, I walked into our athletic director's office, and we usually, as a staff, we would recap the meeting, but it was like I couldn't even wait until that happened. I walked in and I just said to her, I said, we need to bring her in. She's going to light this place on fire. And she said, I agree 100%. Yeah, it was a no-doubter for us. She was definitely the one.
What was it about her that made you feel like she was going to light it on fire?
Just her energy. I mean, it was so positive and so ambitious and excited. And, it just felt like, our department, was already building a young nucleus of new coaches. But Kerry was one that, I saw a lot of similarities. I felt like she was one that was not afraid to push the envelope a little bit. She understood her place. She understood, how she would fit into the sequence at Marywood and Marywood Athletics. But at the same time, she was not going to back down from what she thought was important for her and for her girls and for the program. And I think, that's admirable. It's a tough quality to find, somebody who has, a firm grasp on what's real and what is goal. And, she's very goal-oriented and ambitious, like I said. And I believed in her. I believed that she could do it.
And seeing what she was able to do, I mean, she went in her first game. It's something truly special and something truly amazing, to go into game number one and to win it. First time as a head coach, first time at Marywood, and to win the first game that she ever got to coach. Just what you could say about that, because that's something that'll live on forever.
Oh, yeah, your first win ever as a head coach is special for sure. But to do it in your first try, that's also a pretty remarkable feat, and not a lot of coaches get to say that. I did not win my first game as a head coach. It had to take day two for me to do that. We were in a tournament, and I know how hard it is just to win a game. So to win your first one is it's really special. It's a good experience to last forever.
So we're here with Enrico Mastroianni, the Marywood men's basketball head coach. You and I spoke all throughout the season. Obviously, the run, we did a bunch of videos. This team is extremely successful and had themselves a miraculous, I don't want to say miraculous, but they had themselves a memorable, treasurable season. What can you say now that you've had some time to sit and let it marinate and whatnot? What are your thoughts looking back on the 2018-19 season?
We're pleased. I wouldn't say satisfied, because I think, we've talked about it, Dan. We had sights on other things, and the guys are hungry. They're somewhat, they feel like there's something left undone, some unfinished business. But to be able to walk around and say, hey, look, we did something that's never been done before, and we accomplished all these feats, and had all this success. It's something to be proud of, and it took a few days for that to all settle in. We had ended our season on Friday, March 1st, and we had a team meeting on the following Wednesday, and I think it was probably on Tuesday that I finally started to feel like, as I'm putting an agenda together for that meeting with the team, I kind of started to realize, like, putting all this stuff on paper that we accomplished, wow, we really did something special here. That was nice.
And like you said, obviously there's more left in the tank and there's more that you want to do, but just what this season did for you as a coach in year number 4 at Marywood, just what that did for you and what it says about where you're going. I mean, when you take that look in the mirror, just what you see.
I'm obviously, like I said, proud. I think it's kind of a validation in a way. When I came in, I had an idea of what I wanted to do. I verbalized that to my supervisors. I verbalized it to the team, to the staff. I kind of explained to them that we have to go through some things to get to where we want to go. But if you stay with it, if we stay the course, if we remain positive, if we take away all the negatives and just focus on the future, good things are coming for us. And we're building we called it a tradition of success in men's basketball. And I think, as evidenced 2 years in a row now, setting records and eclipsing 15 wins 2 consecutive years, I think we're definitely headed in that direction.
To know that, Tip Schwartz and Jeremy Ringland are moving on, just what you could say about Jeremy and Tip and just what your takeaways have been from them.
The start, and certainly they finished their careers, on that same path and that same pace. And, we would never be in this position without their effort, without their commitment, their sacrifice, not just to their ability on the court. And I think that's what gets overlooked sometimes. We all care about the wins and losses, and that's, obviously critical to our team, our success, our program. But, what they did for us outside of basketball is even more impressive. Academically, they're 2 of the highest achieving student athletes probably in the department and definitely within our program. What they've done in the community, what they've done to represent Marywood University, Marywood basketball, it's just they're special guys, and it's going to be hard to replace. And I know I challenge our guys every day, the ones that are returning and those that are coming in, that, that's the bar. That's where it is. The year before we had a hashtag raise the bar, and these guys came in this year and they did that. And now the guys coming back and those coming to join us have to do that again. The cupboard is not bare. We're going to be okay. We're going to compete. It's just, to replace guys that combined for over 2,700 points, that's pretty hard to do. Yeah.
And when you have that, when you have these guys as they step forward and they do, what needs to be done, like you said, you have other guys coming up, that the cupboard's not bare and whatnot. But, what are kind of your lasting words to Tip and Jeremy? What do you want them to know about what they did for this program?
Yeah, in private moments, we've had those conversations. I think, what I would say, and I have said to them, is thank you. Thank you for staying with us. Thank you for helping us excel and grow. And thank you for giving it all out, on the court and in the community when you had to, and even when you didn't want to. I think that's the one thing that is hard as a student athlete, is there's so many things that are drawing your attention, right? And, it's just a lot. The demands are high. The rewards are not, immediate. They're sometimes not noticed or realized until 5-10 years later, when you're reminiscing as a former student athlete and you say, wow, good thing I was involved with that. Thank goodness I did that, or great that I stayed with that program and look at what I accomplished. But immediately it's hard to see sometimes. You're putting all these things out there, you're sacrificing so much,
right.
And sometimes the return is not as immediate. So I would just say to those guys, just I hope that, one day you'll realize and appreciate the things that you got out of this program as much as we appreciated having you in it.
That coming from Enrico Mastroianni, the Marywood men's basketball head coach. For Marywood, Giving Day is this Thursday, March 28th. Why should they give to the Marywood men's basketball program? What are your thoughts on Giving Day coming up here?
It's a great day for us. Every year we find out every year how much more support we're gaining and growing over the years. And when we started this Giving Day program, I think, 3 years ago, we had maybe 20 or 25 donors. We raised maybe $1,300, $1,500. I mean, it was a huge day, a great event for us, first time doing it. The next year, last season, I think we ended up, our goal was 40 donors. We ended up at 54. And we raised over $2,300, So seeing that growth, exponential growth in the support, the outpouring of love and care for our program, for our guys, it means everything to us. You can't say thank you enough. You can't say how much you appreciate it enough, but every little bit helps. And we have some challenges this year, too. I know you talked with Kerry about the challenges, and our guys – our goal this year is if we could raise $3,000. The guys had a wish. they want to line up and put pies in the faces of the coaching staff. If we can get to $3,000, we'll videotape it. We'll air it out on our social media. Everybody can get a good laugh at it, and we'll be good sports and take it on the chin, quote unquote. But it's going to be fun, and we put together a little video. The team had a little thank you message for everybody. It's out there on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. So it's so much fun to be able to say, look, we're proud of what we do. We're proud of Marywood. We're proud of Marywood basketball. We want you to be proud of it too. And the more you support us and help us, the better off those moments, those experiences, and those traditions will be.
Absolutely, and to have that Giving Day obviously coming up here is extremely important. Before we finish up here with Enrico Mastroianni, Enrico, you know that we always play rapid fire, and we got to do it. So, now that it's the end of the season and all this stuff, and we got some time and whatnot, the rapid fire is here with us, and we're going to do at least 3 apiece back and forth here. So I'm going to start, and my question to you, Enrico Mastroianni, is what is the greatest piece of advice anyone's ever given you?
There's a lot. There's been so much. Write down your goals. I think that's the number one thing. Put things on paper, because until you do that, you don't commit to it. And if you're not committing to anything, or you're not committing to something specifically, you're really not committing to anything. Dreams are goals that were never put on paper. So it's just something that I think I've tried to do. I try to get my players to do. I think if you see it visually, it makes an impact on you.
I definitely agree with that. I think that's a good one. I got some stuff that I have to put down here. Okay, I'm going to ask you this one because I don't care. I mean, it's an open show. It's how I am. So what would you say in matters of the heart? Now that you are a father, you have 3, and you obviously have your beautiful, wonderful wife. What would you say in matters of the heart? What would be your advice to people with love?
Again, so many different options. I guess, don't be guarded. Be transparent, but not overbearing. I think you got to just be yourself. Be true to who you are. Don't try to impress anyone. If you're not good enough for whoever that is, then that's not the right thing. So I think just be who you are. Be transparent, and don't be guarded. Let love in, and be yourself, and that should work out fine.
That coming from Enrico Mastroianni. My third one for you is, let me think here. If you could be any cartoon character, who would you be and why?
Probably Jerry Mouse.
Okay. Why?
Because that was me when I was a kid with my brother. I mean, he was 6 years older than me, and I would frequently, sneak attack on him. He would always try to bully me in some ways, and not in a bad way, but bigger brother stuff and older brother stuff. And so, there were even times when, and he could tell you this, it was hilarious. We would be roughhousing or whatever, and all of a sudden I would fake an injury and start to cry and act like he hurt me really bad. And when he would get a little closer, I would just, pop him quick and run away.
Nice.
I was more elusive. I was younger. I was faster, and I could just sneak attack and run and hope he never caught me again.
Nice. I like it. Okay, cheap shots. There we go. So what are your three for me, Enrico Mastroianni?
Well, I know you're a big Marvel guy,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
Okay. So if you could be a Marvel superhero, okay, or a Marvel hero, which one would it be and why?
Man, that's tough. I would probably I grew up, I'm a Spider-Man fan. I love Spider-Man, but if it's morals, if it's values, if it's what you stand for, if it's who you are, I wouldn't go about it the same way. I would have gotten in the gym and gotten ready like this. I don't think I'd want the super soldier serum, so to speak, but I mean, I would be Captain America because it's not, I mean, he's Captain America, but he's not just fighting for America. He's fighting for the world. He's fighting for what's right. And one of the greatest things, and I hope they use it in Avengers Endgame, is that in the comic book, I have a T-shirt that has this. When he's fighting against Thanos, Thanos says something like, kneel to your God, and Captain America says, I know God. There is one true God, and you're not him. And I'm just so moved by that because my faith, my belief without evidence, has been called upon me right now more than ever. Thanks God for that. And I love him for it, though. But, I mean, the reality of it all is I think that Captain America just has, there is nothing that you can give him that he will not overcome. He never gives up his morals. He never gives up his values. He is always driven by what is right. And I think that, even when the entire world thinks that he's wrong, he believes in God, he believes in himself, and he moves forward. And I don't know anything better than that as a definition of how I live my life.
That's awesome. Yeah, I probably couldn't argue with that one. I probably would have chose the same thing.
Captain America.
All right.
All right, what's your next one?
So, number 2, you've been to a lot of different sports venues, obviously, in your field, in your career.
Yes.
What is your favorite sports venue?
Oh, my favorite sports venue. I love the Dome, and there's nothing like the Dome, and I'm going to give it all the love in the world because there is nothing like it, but I want to pick a different place that's away from home. So I would say, oh, man, what would I say? There's so many different places I've been to. Which one would I pick? I would say probably going, as scary as it is, so to speak, and going into the belly of the beast, and it's all business, and you feel it. It's the only stadium that I ever felt something go through my body, almost like I was going through like an X-ray or something, and that is Foxborough. I mean, it is. I remember walking into Foxborough for the AFC Championship game, covering Jacksonville and the Patriots, and I remember looking down at my shadow, seeing the briefcase on my shoulder. My shadow looked back at me, and I said to myself, it's all business. And I walked into the building. And so I would probably say Foxborough because you can feel it.
Okay. I've never been there, but I anticipate that if I go, it would feel the same way, being a AFC fan of a team other than the Patriots. So
yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of that team other than the Patriots,
yeah,
and my boys have made a lot of noise this year, the Browns in the offseason so far.
Yes.
Your pick, if you had to play fantasy football, and I'm sure you do, your number 1 pick from the Browns roster for fantasy, not including Baker Mayfield, who would be your choice?
Probably OBJ right now.
Okay.
I think he's got something to prove. I think he wants to have fun. I think he wants to fly around. I think he wants to be with the youth of this team. So I'm going to say OBJ. I think he's going to be doing some fun things in the end zone this season. So if it was today and we were doing the Wake Up Call Fantasy Football Challenge, I'd be drafting OBJ. So,
right. If you had the choice to pick Baker ahead of him, would you?
Oh, that's depends on what quarterback I already had, because Baker wouldn't be my first quarterback choice. So
wow. You said that, Dan.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's all good. But I mean, it depends. It depends. But yeah, I usually draft running backs and wide receivers first. So that's where we go. We have a second here, so we're gonna do one more. My final one for Enrico Mastroianni is, Oh, if you could be any superhero, who would you pick and why?
So not necessarily Marvel, just any superhero.
Just anybody.
So I've always had this struggle of Batman versus Superman. You know, obviously they actually made a movie about that. But, you know, I really I grew up, those were my two favorites. And then Spider-Man would kind of mix in there. Every once in a while I kind of had a Spider-Man thing that I was watching only Spider-Man. But, you know, I'd have to say it always goes back to Superman for me. Similarly to the Captain America thing that you talked about with, you know, truth, justice, American way. I kind of always felt like, you know, Superman stood for everything that was right and good in the world. And, you know, just it was cool that he had these powers, that he could fly, he could see through things, he had the strength. He was, quote unquote, invincible, but it was more than that. It was about what he stood for and what he believed in. And, you know, there was just something that I aspired to be, you know, that way. And so, you know, I kind of, you know, I always have rubbed that off on my kids, whether it's in comics, in movies, whatever. You know, we're always looking at the heroes. We're always looking at the ones that are trying to do good for the greater good of the people around them. So that would be my choice.
Amen to that. With that being said, Enrico, what is your final one for me?
Geez, I didn't know I was going to get a fourth one. So let me think on a second here. What was the first movie you ever saw in a movie theater?
Oh, man. What is the first movie I ever saw in a movie theater? It wasn't The Lion King, but I remember that. The first movie that scared me in a movie theater was Independence Day. I was 10. That stupid movie. So angry. The only thing that got me through that movie was when Will Smith punched the alien in the face and said, "Welcome to Earth." But so great. That's why Will Smith and I should be best friends. But I would say, oh, man, Lion King's the one I remember. What was the first one I saw in the movie?
94, right?
94. Yeah, so I was like, I had to have seen something before that. I don't know. You know, the first movie I ever remember watching is The Wizard of Oz. It was 10 o'clock at night, and I was crying in my crib because I wanted my mom to come get me. I remember this. Like, this is the thing. Like, my dad doesn't believe that you can remember childhood memories, yet I can remember childhood thoughts. And when I was, like, really, really little, I wanted my mom to come get me, so I cried in my crib. I remember standing in the dark in my whatchamacallit, I can't even think right now, in my crib. I'm standing there, and I remember it's pitch black in my room, and I cried so that they would come get me. And I remember my dad being like, you know, like, he, like, knew where what I was doing. And I remember going downstairs, my mom put me on her chest, she laid back in the recliner, and I watched The Wizard of Oz on her chest. And it's the first time I ever watched it. It's my favorite time ever watching it, and every time I watch it, I think about it. So I'll say The Wizard of Oz because, like, of that memory with my mom.
That's awesome. That's a great memory, man.
So I would say that. So with that being said, Enrico Mastroianni, give on Thursday, March 28th, to the Marywood men's basketball program so they can pie Enrico in the face and make sure that you do good things in the community, as always, with Marywood University.